Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by World Series of Fighting Heavyweight Rolles Gracie. Rolles, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Rolles, you got a fight coming up September 14th at World Series of Fighting 5. How's training been going for the fight?
Man, training's going great. Had an amazing training camp, so like I'm feeling 100%. You know, now just like we were about 1 week out. So just, you know, just slowly ease things down, you know, just keep the engine running and recover the energy so come Saturday, it's time to rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. Was today the last day of hard training, or will tomorrow be the last day?
Tomorrow, so I still have like a 1 hour session tomorrow, and then after that, it's like just tune-up sessions, bring the sweat here and there, just so it can almost turn the engine on and off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're a member of Renzo Gracie's team. Who are some of the guys that are helping you prepare for this fight? Mostly the guys that we hear coming out of there, Gregor Gracie, Igor Gracie, Dave Branch. Those are, guys who are welterweight, middleweight kind of guys. Who are some of the bigger guys that are helping you, if there are any that are helping you out?
No, I have here Liam McGreevy. He's fighting at Bellator. He actually fights 1 week after me. He's like a very tall guy. Like on my height. He's like a light heavyweight, but he's been like really awesome training partner. I have Jamal Patterson here. He's like my weight. So I have some guys. Rafael Sapo just fought in UFC, so he was actually giving me a hand too. So I've been having a few guys to help me out here.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you travel to any other gyms, or do you just kind of stay in one spot? Could you explain, how your training works?
And for my last fights, I've been staying in New York. I've been doing my training here between New York and New Jersey. I'm doing most of my training in Renzo Gracie, New York, right in the headquarters in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And I go to see Mark Henry, my boxing coach. I go to Jersey, a day or two of the week, and he comes to New York another day or so. So between New York and New Jersey, that's where my training's happening.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I understand correct, you're an instructor at the academy, correct?
Yes, I'm teaching. I'm teaching at Renzo School, but I teach mostly the one at Renzo School in Jersey, the one in Homedale.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And is this, basically for people, the average ordinary day person, or are you training fighters? Could you explain the kind of students that you work with?
Yeah, I train the average Joe, guys who decide to join the academy for many different reasons, and so I think that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu. They can sign up for any particular reason, either just to get in shape, to learn how to defend themselves, to socialize, so it's just make them feel better, increase their confidence. So it's just a gym for average people, and the fighters in the gym are just a small percentage. We have a great, solid professional fighters, fighting out there, but the big majority of our students, it's definitely the average person.
Mm-hmm. When you're preparing for a fight, do you just solely focus on you and preparing for the fight, or will you still mix in the teaching that you do at the academy?
No, I still teach. I think it's I think it's important to hear. I like teaching because it also keeps my mind sharp. It keeps me thinking about the details of the game and stuff. So I definitely teach. Of course, I don't teach as much as what I normally do when I don't have a fight. But at least 3 or 4 times a week I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm. We all know that you're very good on the ground. We all know that's your specialty. How much are you working the other stuff? And with the teaching that you do you kind of, take a kind of step back from your own jiu-jitsu training because you are, around it so much with the teaching? Could you explain the percentages of, striking and wrestling and grappling that you do, how you break it up and what you work the most on?
Yeah, it's hard for me to put a percentage-wise.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I'm definitely training all areas of the game. I focus this time. Actually, I focus a little more on my striking.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I would split, in even ways. This time I was focused a little more on my striking. I was actually doing I have like a Muay Thai coach and a boxing coach, so I've been doing like a lot of striking for this one. But Jiu-Jitsu and the rest, I've been training a lot as well. So I cannot like stay away from Jiu-Jitsu as much, because I think that's like I still like want to keep improving it.
Now, we've seen guys who come from multiple disciplines have troubles in some areas, like, a lot of strikers have problems with jiu-jitsu, some wrestlers have problems with striking. What's the hardest part to learn of mixed martial arts? Obviously, jiu-jitsu is your strong suit, but of the other aspects of the game, what's been most difficult for you to learn?
It's definitely like, I was always curious about other styles of fighting. Even though when I had no plans of fighting MMA whatsoever, I was, learning some wrestling, judo, and stuff like that. But definitely the most challenging part was to me was like to get to the point that I was feel comfortable standing up and exchanging punches and kicks, to with guys that knew a lot more than I did, at the time. But I think that stage is behind, right now. I feel comfortable everywhere. Of course, like, when you in every area, when you start to refine and go over details and be more particular about these things, everything is hard. Even jiu-jitsu, everything is just like to get like perfect and everything. Like it's such a hard sport to train for. There's so many areas of the game, but I still think everything like it's hard as the same. When I think I'm good at jiu-jitsu, I realize that I still have a lot to learn. When I think I got the wrestling down, I find a guy that put me on my butt all the time. So it's just everything is hard. I mean, there's always like a guy that is amazing, on a specific part.
Now, there's been guys who come from a striking background who, like, maybe they did Muay Thai or kickboxing or boxing, and when they come into mixed martial arts, it's a different style of striking. They have to lower their stance for the takedowns. They can't overcommit because of those takedowns, and when they clinch up, if you come from boxing, there is no clinch in boxing. The referee separates you, but in mixed martial arts, there is clinching. For jiu-jitsu, is there, MMA jiu-jitsu compared, or, is there some sort of learning curve from going from maybe no-gi to actually being in the cage fighting? Is there that learning curve from going from just regular?
Definitely. You gotta like jiu-jitsu somewhat when there's no punch, no punches, no elbows, no strikes involved on the ground. Like you definitely expose yourself a little more. You're more relaxed. You're not worried about like getting hit. Like you're not worried about so worried about controlling the guy's hand. At least you don't want you don't care about the guy's hand near your face. But and with MMA, you gotta focus about these things. You gotta be careful sometimes especially for the bottom, from certain types of sweeps and certain types of submission holds that's gonna expose yourself in that way.
Now the gloves, obviously they're fingerless. There is a lot of flexibility and mobility with those gloves, but is that part of the learning curve? Learning how to grab stuff that maybe if you were in a no gi or gi tournament would come easier to you. Is that part of the learning curve? Adapting to having those gloves on.
Yeah, definitely. The gloves are staying away a little bit, but not as much as people think. I think sometimes it's just a matter of adapting. Just same way as like wearing a cup. So it's like some discomfort, like just a little uncomfortable sometimes. But it's my personal opinion. The gloves are not a huge deal, especially the fighting gloves. The fighting gloves, they're not as big. They're like so. It's okay. I think I remember the Pride one back in Japan. Those gloves used to be huge. And I never fought on those, but I could imagine those were a little harder to grapple with.
You were supposed to fight Dave Huckabee at World Series of Fighting 3, but you suffered an injury in training and were forced off the card. What was the injury? What exactly was the injury, and how long did it take you to recover from it?
During like a mid-camp, I got kicked in the wrist, in my hand. I went to catch a kick, and I got kicked with those big gloves and the shin pads and stuff. I got kicked in my hand, so I hurt my wrist a little bit. And later on, to training, I aggravated and I sparring again. Actually, almost the same thing happened again. So it was like and I totally lost my grip. I couldn't throw my right hand at all. So like, there was no way I could fight. I still wanted, because it was so close to the fight, I still wanted to go there and fight. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad I listened to my coaches. You know, something that I didn't. The only loss I had, I didn't listen to them. I fought with a broken foot, and everybody wanted me to pull out of the card, and I didn't. And they made me rethink my decision this time, and I listened to them, and that's why I decided to pull out.
Mm-hmm. So it was just a case of you got injured just at the wrong time because it was so close to the fight. It wasn't something where it was very serious, where you had to do a lot of rehab. Could you explain what you had to do to get back to 100%?
No, it wasn't. It was just like I went to see a doctor, and he told me basically you just got to, you know, take some time off. Mm-hmm. You know, and if it wasn't, sometimes I think like when you get hurt close to a fight, depending on the type of injury, you can still fight. But on this case, like it's my hand. I completely, and I'm a grappler. Mm-hmm. I completely lost my strength on my right hand. I couldn't even close my hand. I couldn't. Any little hit on my hand or even on my forearm area was like it was causing like a great pain. It was like a bad sprain. So I just put my hand on one of those braces, you know, mm-hmm. and for like a few weeks, and everything was fine.
Mm-hmm. Coming up on September 14th, you're going to be fighting Derek Meeman. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
He's a well-worth opponent, man. I was looking for a fight like this. I want a fighter like him, a guy. He definitely brings. He leaves everything in the cage. He dangerous guy, of course. You know, like he wins most of his victories are from like KO and TKO. So he's definitely a dangerous guy, and I cannot take him lightly at all. Mm-hmm. So that's why I train so hard for this fight, and I'm feeling people that see me fight the same. I'm in my best shape ever.
Mm-hmm. On paper, people look at this fight and say, well, if Hollis is going to win, he's going to try to take it to the ground and tap out Derek Meeman, and if Derek Meeman's going to win this fight, he's got to avoid the ground and look for a knockout. Is that how you look at this fight? Do you look at it as, you know, I got to get it to the ground and submit him, and if I don't get it to the ground, then, you know, it's not going to be a good night for me? Or do you view it as just a complete mixed martial arts?
I don't see that way. Mm-hmm. I see this as a tough MMA fight, and I know what MMA is, and I know like every time from my I've been hearing this since my first fight. Everybody's been telling me you're going to take the fight, they're going to finish otherwise. You know, because I actually didn't get a chance to display I didn't get a chance to show my strike in my career to this day, because I'm being pretty successful taking people down and finishing. But if I can't find an opening to take him down, I'm ready to fight three rounds standing up. Mm-hmm. Not only fight 3 rounds standing up, I'm ready to fight 3 rounds standing up and win in that way. Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of your submission victories have come by way of either rear naked choke or arm triangle. Just curious, is that something that you prefer? Do you prefer to attack the neck, or is it just something where they've just happened to all end like that and you're not really going for it? It's just that it just keeps happening? Because I remember in the Bob Sapp fight, you rolled for a leg lock and then eventually swept him and then got on top. So, is it just the way these things are playing out, or are you more comfortable with going for the chokes?
Of course, it's something you definitely everybody has more. People, each person has it's go for moves and stuff. And definitely my record shows that I'm very successful with chokes. But I don't look just for chokes for those things. I definitely look for anything. The guy gives me an arm, I'm going to take an arm. If he gives me a foot, I'm going to take his foot. So it's just been happening. I think sometimes the chokes they are more efficient in a way. I think like when you don't risk as much doing chokes like this, you don't risk going to the bottom. You don't risk, so sometimes it's a go for a move. But whatever the guy gives me, I'm taking it.
Mm-hmm. Hollis Hollis, it seems like you're more comfortable on top when you're, going for submissions. Is that accurate, or is it just the way these fights have played out?
I think just the way the fights played out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, as far as I remember, I just remember being on my back on fights for probably like 30 seconds altogether. So I didn't have a lot of time to play from the guard and stuff like that. But definitely my game is put you on your back and smash you until you give me something so they can't make you give up.
Yep, definitely. Now, this fight is going to be taking place in New Jersey at the Revel Resort and Casino. Are you from New York or are you from New Jersey?
I consider myself from both. Because right now I lived in Jersey for a few years, but right now I'm back in New York. I've been in this area for about 10 years now, and I'm kind of been like I lived a few years in Jersey, and I used to teach, and I teach in the school in Jersey, so I consider myself being from both. Even though I live in New York City right now.
It's been a while since you fought in New Jersey. Your last fighting there was April of 2011. How much does it mean to you to be back fighting in New Jersey?
It was fun. I had a great experience fighting over there. I like fighting some of my students. I like to, I've been here so much. Oh, when you're fighting here again, we're only fighting like in Asia, far away. So I'm definitely excited to see that my students are excited to be able to go to my fight.
How many of your teammates are going to be fighting on this card? I noticed Gregor Gracie is fighting on this card. Dave Branch is fighting on this card. Who else?
I have Nima, my cousin.
Right.
He's going to open the night.
Yep.
And we have also Arthur Rossi and Ozzy Dulugbob. I have such a hard name to pronounce, last name to pronounce, but from the training together right now in New York City, we have 6 of us. Plus I think Daniel from Philly, he has like a couple guys from him. So I think like has a very great team if they have 8 fighters there.
So how many fans should we be expecting that'll be, flying the Renzo Gracie banner? How many, people, how many tickets have been sold for the guys who are, represent that gym?
I don't really know right now how many speakers have been sold so far, not up to date, but hopefully the whole arena.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned that, your past fights, Japan, the Philippines, Indonesia, you've been fighting internationally a lot. Is it important for you to, stick around the United States and build your brand up in here? I mean, obviously you have a famous last name, the Gracie name is royalty in mixed martial arts, but, your personal brand, Hollis Gracie, is it important for you to be fighting, locally in the United States? Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight here also. I had a great time fighting over there, in Asia. I had a great time. It was like the fans there are awesome as well. I had the opportunity to fight in the same arena that was it the Chile Manila?
Yeah. Yes. Right.
So I was like, really happy that it's fighting the arena that like Pacquiao fought many times. So those things was really awesome. But like I've been wanting to fight in the U.S. again, and it's time again. So I'm really excited. I think it's important. The MMA this is the biggest scenario for place for MMA in the world. It's here in America. So I think what happens here spread out to the world faster than if I fight there. People don't know as much as the other way around. So I'm definitely excited to be fighting here again on national TV.
How much does it mean to you? Obviously, you fought with family before. Most recently, ONE FC, you fought with Igor and Gregor on the same card. How much does that mean to you to share the card with, like this time around, you're sharing it with family and friends, teammates as well. How special of a night, fighting on the card as all these people, how much does that mean to you?
Yeah, when they first offered me to fight in ONE FC, to fight my 2 brothers and I was a little concerned because I'm the big brother, and I always been to their fights. They fought in the same night, the same card before, but I was there everything was fine with them, and I thought it was gonna be like a challenging experience for me to be like the last one to fight and couldn't be able to be like ringside with them. But it was an amazing experience because we shared the same atmosphere. We helped each other, we pushed each other training together. We all have to overcome the same challenges of training. So and this time is the same thing. Not only I have like two of my family members, but like all these guys that I consider my family as well, because we're sharing the match every day. So and we're fighting for the same goals, carry the same banner. So like they're my family. So it's amazing to feel that experience again. I think it's much better than if I fight by myself on a card. There's nobody from the team.
Mm-hmm. Does it make the occasion more special now that not only do you have your family around you, but you're also fighting in the area that you're from? Does that make it more special?
Oh yeah, everything is it's making this whole experience is very special to me. I've been wanting to fight for WSOF for a while. Like I said, like you mentioned, like I got hurt my previous fight. They were supposed to be taking place like a month and a half or so ago. So, but that happens, and now's the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you exclusive to World Series of Fighting, or can you still go elsewhere to fight?
I think, if I don't recall, I think my contract, I'm exclusive North the America, because I know my ONE FC contract is exclusive on Asia. Mm-hmm. It's Asia exclusive only, and I think WSOF is everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, a lot of your family fights for both ONE FC and World Series of Fighting. When you guys work your contracts, is this just something where it's all a package deal and you guys all come together, or is it just that when the promoters get a hold of one of you, they just want to bring all the guys in? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's like probably my manager will be the best person to talk about this, right. But I think it's a little bit of both, and it's not a package. Like it's not like either you sign if you want me, you gotta sign the other two. No, I think it's like they want. I think it's interesting, for them to have like a couple of us fighting the same show, and it's easier because especially when we go out there, like we each other's corner as well. So I think it's both ways. Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of talk of, Gracie 2.0, this next flight of Gracie family members that are competing in mixed martial arts. We hear a lot of talk about that. We hear a lot of talk about pressure. Do you feel any pressure, having the last name and kind of carrying on the legacy? Or is some of the pressure kind of taken off because there are so many of you guys that are competing now and you kind of all share the kind of same pressure, which takes it off everyone? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's a different time now. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows like the MMA is like it's a completely different sport than it used to be like a few years, like 10 years ago. And I don't put much pressure on myself. The pressure that I put on myself is just because I want to win. I hate to lose. I don't like to lose on a chess game or a rock paper scissors. Mm-hmm. So like I just want to win. I just want to perform. The pressure I put on myself is just because I want to perform at the highest level that I can. Mm-hmm. No, nothing to do with my last name. If my last name was to be like Silva, not because of randomly Silva others was Silva, but just because of common name in Brazil. Mm-hmm. I would still be putting the same amount of pressure on myself. Mm-hmm.
You had one fight in the UFC, and Radich Gracie, he had one fight in the UFC. Just curious, why is it that the Gracie family hasn't had the success in the octagon that years prior the family enjoyed? And second, why is it the family is kind of on I guess you could say a short leash with the UFC because you had only one opportunity. You mentioned that it wasn't your best performance. You mentioned that you went in there with an injury, and then Radich, he had a lot of momentum coming in from Strikeforce, and then he only got one opportunity in the UFC. Why is it that the family hasn't had the success, and why is it they haven't gotten a lot more opportunity?
Man, I don't know. That's a question that I ask myself. Mm-hmm. At the time when I got cut, I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed with the UFC's policy. And I think we both, not only myself and Radich, especially Radich, because he's like the best ever on the sport that he comes from. from. You know, so the best competition is the best is by far without a doubt the best player. You know, ever, like 10-time world champion. So like
right.
I think it will be if I were the UFC owner, I want to have a guy like that in my show. You know, I understand that he didn't perform the way he could have, but I think it was just a matter of, you know, get another chance. You know, a lot of fighters, they go there and you lose. You know, well, now Anderson Silva just lost, but that makes him like a bad fighter. No, he's still probably the greatest fighter to step in the octagon. You know, so it's just a matter of I don't know why. Honestly, like it's a very tricky question. You know, I think both of us, you know, guys, you've seen guys fighting 3, losing 3, 4, sometimes even 5 times. Right. You've seen they're still there. And I don't want to like mention names and stuff because you know, some of the guys I like them a lot. Right. But I think I don't know. You know, I don't think it was like definitely. I think myself and Radich definitely underperformed that night. On those separate occasions. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's just I was, like I said, I was and I am extremely disappointed.
Yeah, I can't figure it out either. You know, I've always wondered about that because, you know, anybody can have a bad night, you know. There's a lot of guys who have lost in this sport that, like you mentioned, Anderson Silva just lost, and he's the greatest of all time, you know. Anybody, there's so many ways to win and lose in this sport, and anybody can have a bad night. So I don't know why more opportunities haven't been given, but I don't know.
You know, so it's, I definitely, I don't know why, man. Honestly, like, it's very disappointed. And obviously, you know, but I know I disappointed at that time. I disappointed some of my fans, but I was the biggest. You know, I was the guy who was the most disappointed of all. I was disappointed with my performance. I knew that I wasn't at my 100%. And you've seen that at the time they knew I was hurt as well. So they almost tried to, you know, they even mentioned they wanted to call the fight out when I was supposed to fight Mustafa Al-Tour. And then I think he had a visa problem and he couldn't make it to the U.S. So at the time they knew I was hurt, and they decided to call maybe they mentioned about calling a fight and scratching the fight. But then they find a replacement, but I don't know. Honestly, I was very disappointed.
Getting off that subject and moving back to this fight you got coming up on September 14th, Derek Mayman, he, you know, is a very talented guy. I think the only guys that he's lost to in his MMA career have been guys who have been in the UFC before. So he's got a very good resume of guys he's beaten. So he's a very talented guy. You know, obviously it'll be easier for you to say after the fight takes place, but just going on what you know and what you've seen him do in the past, is this a step up in competition? Is he, you know, the best guy that you've faced today?
Yeah, he's definitely. I think because of the tools that he's going to be bringing to the cage, is definitely going to be like a. It's hard to say if he's the toughest competition I faced, but he's very tough, man. He's very like. I think he's tough in this. He's definitely. I think he's definitely probably the toughest wrestler I've been facing to date. For this one.
Hollis,
I cannot say if he's the greatest striker because I fought like K1 level strikers like Peter Graham, you know, the guy like you know, and I fought guys stronger than him. Like I don't think I'll ever fight anybody stronger than Bob Sapp. And definitely Tony Bonello has you know, like he's an accomplished black belt. So you know, but like he's definitely like the overall game. He's definitely he's out there. So the way he puts things together and the way he's definitely like I think he's definitely a step up to the competition for sure. And I cannot take him. I didn't take him lightly at all in this training camp.
Hollis, when you close your eyes and think about this fighting World Series of Fighting debut, NBC Sports Network, fighting in basically your hometown, all your friends and family around you, how do you envision the fight ending?
Man, I just vision myself with the arms, you know, raising there, but I honestly I can't picture myself like finishing with it, you know, like in a specific way. I'm just thinking about. I just want to keep my mind clear to perform well to put everything that I did in practice to put out there on this coming Saturday.
Hollis, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Chaco, Wild Wings, and the guys from Gaspar Nutrition. And then for the fans, you can just let them know. I just want to let them know that I'm feeling great. I'm feeling in a great shape, and I'm just want to be there and put a fight for them, and they won't be disappointed.
Hollis, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck September 14th at World Series of Fighting 5 against Derek Mayman.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate it.